Thank you, Maharaj, for joining us and giving us your association. Maharaj, we can start now. Sorry for the delay.
Let me begin my, let's see, what do I do here? I want to share my screen. That means I should probably go to full screen. Well, give me the button, sir. Share screen, push share. Okay. Can you see Hanuman and Sita?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. It's a very, very nice, nice picture. Ashokban. Of course, our name, Hanumatpresaka. Srila Prabhupada gave us that name. Maybe somebody picked it out of Vishnu, out of a Rama Sahasranam. I don't know. But Hanumat means of Hanuman, like Bhagavat, of Bhagavan. And Preshak means somebody who sends a messenger. On little Indian inland letters, the small blue ones that used to say, Preshak Kanamha, name of sender. So Hanumatpresaka, the sender of Hanuman as a messenger. Okay, so we are Ramadas. So we have a nice picture of Hanuman here delivering the message. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradari. Yashoda no Andana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Bana Chari. Tapakunji, can you see our screen?
Yes, Maharaj.
Can you see our screen?
Yes, Maharaj, I can see your screen.
Okay. There's some noise like thunder in the background. Now it's gone. Okay.
It was because of the microphone on, I just switched up.
Okay. So anyway, we have our organization, our institution within Iskcon, the Anjana Sutta Academy. Anjana Sutta, named for Hanuman. His mother is Anjana. And of course, with Iskcon San Diego, Shishi Radhagiridhari Ki Jai. We've been able to visit Iskcon San Diego many times, and our good disciple there, Pujari, Nidhi-ji. And so today, our topic was going to be Interfaith Dialog. Interfaith Dialog, Krist and Krishna, building the bridge. Sorry, Krist and Krishna, bridging the resources. Because as we understand, Prabhupada said, if you want to understand administration, you should take examples from the Catholic Church, which is the oldest existing institution in the world. It still exists. And of course, it's also a religious institution. So we've been able to have very nice experiences, looking at some of the aspects of administration in the Catholic Church. Of course, they're not all good, but no institution is in the material world. So we have a picture here of Lord Chaitanya, and you may recognize this. This is when he was talking to Prakashananda Saraswati and all the Mayavadi sannyasis. So right away it's interfaith dialogue, but here it's between Vaishnava and Mayavad. So we're talking today maybe about Christ and Krishna. Can you see our next slide, sir?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Kirtaniya Sadaharihi Trinadapi, the little line in the middle, the white line there. Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Chaitanya Charitamrita 3/2021 Anjalila. So this is a fundamental principle. Maybe this is the third mantra we should know. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hari Krishna Hari Rama. And then this mantra, because this is how to chant. You know. One has to be sunichena, lower than a blade of grass. Taror, iva sahishnuna, more tolerant than taror, tree. Amanina, not desiring any kind of respect, manadena, and giving respect to everybody. So this is the more or less fundamental principle if we're going to have a dialogue with people from other traditions, because the Kanista Adhikari and other religions, even scientists who have, what do you call it, blind faith, or axiomatic faith in Euclid's principles. They are at the basis of science. It's very easy to point out. Same way, blind faith. So, and then you condemn anybody who hasn't got that. So Kanista Adhikari, Hare Krishna Kanista Adhikari, scientific Kanista Adhikari, Christian Kanista Adhikari, whatever. So we're starting off with this point that people they're humble, they're willing to give respect to others, and maybe good discriminating respect. So, of course, this is manifest in our Charyas, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All of them are showing us, this same thing. Even though they're very exalted, they're quite willing, desiring to listen to other people and take other people as a good source of instruction. So, first principle. Otherwise, there's not much dialogue possible. Chanika Pandit. Well, actually, it's not Chanika Pandit, it's Mula Nazaradim. Yeah. Mula Nazaradim says one should not engage in an argument with a fool, because people may have a hard time distinguishing which one of you is the fool. And you may have had this experience yourself. So then maybe we're going to look at three different aspects, three different resources. So this is what we're putting up as number one. And this is basically looking at scriptural resources, conceptual resources that we have for creating a dialogue. And on the left, we have some famous Christian personalities. On the top is Saint Francis, then Saint Ignacio, and then Santa Rosa. And Saint Francis is, of course, the city of San Francisco is named after him. And Prabhupada said it was a spiritual place because it was named after a saint. And Prabhupada glorified him. He said he was a Bhakta. And St. Ignacio, he's the founder, as we understand, of the Jesuit tradition, which is very, very nice monastic order of brahmacharis who dedicate themselves very seriously to preaching Sankirtan education. And we have some nice communication, nice dialogues with them about helping people. And then below we have Santa Rosa, who's maybe the only saint in the Western world until recently. She's Santa Rosa of Lima, and also a very, very nice example. So within Christianity, the first thing is that there's definitely plenty of resources for men and women, to communicate about their experiences. Then more specifically, we have the Apostles' Creed. Okay, and it says here from the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Apostles' Creed was acknowledged as the official statement of faith of the entire Catholic Church in the West by the time that Innocent III was Pope, 1198 to 1216. So it's kind of like, you might say, the Vedanta Sutra or the Shikshastika of Christianity. And the Catholic, what I have on the right side here is what I understand is the Catholic Church's version of it. Different churches, they'll change words a little bit. And sometimes, as we understand from Christian history, even changing one word or something like that has come to the point of creating, wars and conflicts. So it's a very precise document, and you'll see varieties. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, which is the American United States Anglican Church, Church of England version. And ours was a little different, as I remember, like that. But it's very interesting because this is a very clear basis then for dialogue between Hare Krishnas and Christianity. So you can just look at it and see how much we agree on it. Do you accept this? Can you declare? I believe in. Actually, I'll tell you my version. I believe in one God. Okay, do you believe in one God or many gods? Well, we believe in one God. Father Almighty. Okay, so he's a person. You can have a rasa with him. You might say that we have a little bit of variety of this. We also believe in baby all mischievous. Baby all mischievous. I believe in one God, baby all mischievous. Okay. But we accept, Krishna as Father Almighty, and maybe this is the view of Narayana. Creator of heaven and earth. Creator of heaven and earth. And in my version, I got from the Episcopal Church, by whom all things were created. Now, this is very, very essential point. We'll go into it in more detail. But this is God as a person. He's a unique person, creator of even the different devatas, angels, and everything else. And he is, and that's basic definition. So this is I think at this point, if we can establish this between us, and we also believe this, then we have very, very good basis for dialogue. We believe in his Son, our Lord, who has conceived by the Holy Spirit. So Prabhupada, of course, gives so much. My version, we believe in one God, Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, by whom all things are created, who for us men in our salvation incarnated as Jesus Christ. So with that statement, very clearly, when I was becoming a devotee, of course, somebody else may be coming out of Sri Vaishnavism, somebody else may be coming out of Islam, and they have different things they accept, and they've learned to trust, with sincere endeavor. So I was wondering about Christianity and Jesus Christ and being faithful, but I heard personally from Prabhupada's lips about how his respect and glorification of Jesus Christ. And so yes, we accept that God, Krishna has incarnated. He's, which you might say, Shakti Avesha Avatar, Guru Tattva, born of the Virgin Mary. I've never read that, but somebody said there is a citation where Prabhupada says that. Now, after that, it gets into details. Suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified. Okay, Prabhupada, as I understand, accepts that, but doesn't like it. Doesn't like that the crucifix should be the symbol of Christianity. Okay. Died and was buried. And Prabhupada makes some more comments about how, God would have protected Jesus Christ from the suffering. And St. Francis, in his comments, has a similar point about how Jesus Christ took the sins of all his followers and suffered, but simultaneously he experienced an ecstasy which was able to make it, all okay. It's in it's in the Stigmata, the very last pastimes of St. Francis. He descended into hell. On the third day he rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. Okay. So these things we have to say we don't really know about, agree about, or disagree. From there he will come to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit. Now here a little definition of the Holy Spirit might be useful. The Godhead, Godhood, is usually God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, or Krishna, Balaram, and Paramatma, or Vaitacharya, or Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Vaitacharya, Shivas Pandit, Gadadhar, who was Radharani, feminine Shakti, and or Mother Mary, and then Jiva souls like us. So we accept the same Godhead as they do, in general sense. And of course, people who are Kanista Adhikaris will argue over details for ego and things like that. But in general, we accept. And there's a Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Jehovah. There's a Guru Tattva, there's a Balaram or Nityananda or Jesus Christ. And then the Holy Spirit who can communicate to us. There are details in this, But yes, the Paramatma. I believe in the one Catholic and Apostolic Church. Catholic means universal, and apostolic means disciplic succession. So in all these points, we have a lot of concordance and maybe some detailed disagreement. The communion of saints, Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata Gita. We believe in Hari, Guru, we believe in Guru, our acharyas, Vaishnava, the communion of saints, Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata Gita. Okay, forgiveness of sins. Okay. Resurrection of the body. Oh, there's a nice one. Okay, that's a very good topic of discussion. And in the dialogues, it comes across as, one Jewish person, a rabbi, he was saying, you believe that the soul is completely different from the body. And he said, our Jewish conception, which may be true with other Christian or groups from the same tradition, is like when you finish drinking a cup of coffee from a styrofoam cup. That's the analogy he gave. You pour it all out, and still there's some little drops of coffee stuck in the styrofoam cup. So he had a very nice idea that the spirit, which is a very interesting word, has left the body, but there's something there. So we venerate it to some degree. Oh, we could agree. When you leave the body, some consciousness is hanging on to it. So to get rid of it, we burn the body. So these are very interesting points to clarify our consciousness and discuss things with them. And we may come to points that we disagree on technicalities, but other details, we're close enough that we can actually make some practical accordance and get to work and do things, try and close abortion clinics. Okay, let's go ahead here. Okay, so continuing number one, philosophical basis. And this is from our side then. I believe in one God, Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, by whom all things are created. So here then we have this from our side, this is one of the 4 nutshell verses of Bhagavad Gita. The whole Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is condensed into 4 verses, 10.8, 10.9, 10.10, 10.11. And it's very easy to remember the verse number because it's 108, 10.8. So with your microphones closed, with a great robust voice, let's all chant the verse together. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam bhudabhava samanvitaha. Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly, know this, engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So you can see it's very clear. We have identical conception, basic conception of God. Details. Whether he suffered under Pontius Pilate or Pilate Pontius, details. The main thing, our fundamental definition as Iskcon devotees, Hare Krishnas, is God is the cause of all causes. Yato Brahma Jignasa, Tatato Brahma Jignasa. But where's it go? The absolute truth is that Tato Brahma Jignasa. The absolute truth is that from which everything else comes. Yeah. This is the second verse or something of the Vedanta Sutra. So it's the same, not only for Iskcon devotees, it's the same in the Bhagavad Gita, it's the same in the Vedanta Sutra. Yeah, Vedanti Tat, no, I've forgotten. The absolute truth is that from which everything else comes. Okay, so if we got that definition, then it's very good. We got a fundamental ground to work from for develop different kinds of communication. Every devotee is going to have his own relationship with Krishna. Every planet has its own relationship with the sun. And so we always are going to expect a variety. But if we're in spiritual consciousness, a variety stimulates self-realization, it stimulates harmony, it expands our ability to serve Krishna by understanding other people. Okay, the second point is, can you see our screen now? It's passing fast enough.
Yes, Maharaj, your screen is always visible.
Okay, so the the second thing is how to practically apply this. Okay, go back here. Purport to 10.8. Prabhupada says, a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya, this is Shastra, Sadhu, and who knows how to apply these teachings, can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Okay. So Prabhupada, as we've heard, he said, the basis of interfaith unity is congregational chanting of the glories of the Lord in everybody's own particular tradition, avoiding the 10 offenses. So here in the top, we have a picture of Christians engaging in Christmas caroling, going out and singing. There's a book called the Oxford Book of Carol. And in there, in the preface, is describing St. Francis again as the precursor, if not father of modern caroling. And he would go out with his followers with drums and flutes, and they would sing about God. And he's with a clean heart, having good character, good standards, following the 10 commandments. And he said this is the best way to worship God. So you see from Christian tradition, caroling, and again, we've seen this in different interfaith programs. People start singing very nicely and talking about this from their traditions. And it's such a common realization. It's just the atheists just fall away. They can't say anything because all the Christians, the Muslims, they are all agreeing. In Sufi tradition, it's called dhikr. And it's the same very nice glorification of God. As a devotee, you can appreciate this. Prabhupada, when he was in, Chippewa, it was Chippewa, he would wake up in the morning and he said he would hear the little children from the big mosque, singing prayers together. And he said it was just so beautiful, And I've seen this directly, it works. On the lower right, we have a picture of Hansaduta engaging in kirtan with Chakravarti and Mother Himavati, it looks like. And of course, he was a very, very big part. He still is a very big part of our Krishna consciousness. Okay, so Prabhupada says that we're chanting, but avoiding the 10 offenses. Then he goes on to say that the 10 offenses are not some Hare Krishna thing, some Hindu thing. He says you'll find them in every religious tradition. So there's a very, very nice project. People from different traditions, I'm from Christian traditions, somebody else, other traditions. They should go through and find the 10 offenses in their particular tradition, prominently preached in their language. And then it makes a very, very nice basis for communication. Okay, now we see what you're talking about. And yes, we agree. And Prabhupada says the 10th offense, if one avoids the 10th offense, then he can avoid everything else. And of course, 10th offense is inattentive chanting, maintaining material attachments or inattentive chanting. So of course, if we follow the 4 principles, we're basically not engaging in maintaining material attachments, but also inattentive chanting, thinking about something else, meaning something else. So in that respect, we have a little bit of a detail we can just show you here that we've been using. Another area where we're developing or we're consolidating our ideas is world classical literature. Okay. So we have a very, very nice presentation we've made, and it's just attracted, national poet laureates and everything else. It's been very good, very effective. Prabhupada's mercy work called Hamlet and Arjuna. And it's such a very, very nice contrast, But we did a nice program. It was good enough for maybe like a half an hour presentation at a very nice level, top level. And with a lot of help from devotees in South America, Abhiram Thakur, Lakshmanagaraja, we worked to find a good Spanish translation of Hamlet, and it was difficult. So here we are then, on number 2. So still on the kirtan. Okay. The 10th offense. So Bhagavad Gita 8.6 from our side, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajatiyanti kalevaram tam tam evaita kuntaya sada tad bhava bhavita. So what is the bhava, the consciousness, with which you are chanting? It's the Krishna consciousness movement, Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita. So this is the essence. If somebody is chanting with the bhava of I am your Krishna, you are my Radha. I know gurus who instruct their disciples to chant the Mahamantra with this attitude. All the boys are chanting Hare Rama, and the girls are supposed to understand. The boys are telling them, you are Rama, the goddess of fortune. You are Rama. Remember, you are Rama. And girls are chanting Hare Krishna. You are Krishna. So the bhava is this what I call it, demoniac. Of course, the chanting is there. Hiranyakasipu was chanting Narayana, Narayana. So this is from our point. Yes, that at a certain the bhava will take you to your next body. The chanting has to be done avoiding the 10 offenses. Okay. Now here's a very nice thing from Hamlet. Hamlet is his uncle has murdered Hamlet's father in secret and taken his place. He's become the king. You'll find exactly the same story in The Lion King, because The Lion King was directly based upon Hamlet. They say this. See, the cultural connections are so intense. Okay, so the king is feeling guilty. Hamlet's murderous uncle is feeling guilty, and he says, okay, oh, my offense is rank. It smells to heaven. This is Shakespeare. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder. And this was the first sin. And we see a picture here of a drama of Cain and Abel. Cain murdered his brother. Okay. So his offense, which is as the worst possible thing, he murdered his brother. Go ahead and click this here. Clickety click. Clickety clack. Oh my God. Okay. Pray can I not. Okay, I can't chant my rounds. Though inclination be as sharp as will, my stronger guilt defeats my strong intent. But what if this cursed hand by which he killed his brother were thicker than itself with brother's blood? Is there not rain enough in the sweet heavens to wash it white as snow? Where too serves mercy but to confront the visage of offense? And what's in prayer but this twofold force, to be forestalled ere we come to fall, or pardoned being downed? So Rupa Goswami in the first part of Nectar of Devotion specifically talks about how the holy name is pure. It's prophylactic, it prevents us from falling, and antiseptic, and it purifies us once we fall. So very, very good dialogue. And this is Shakespeare discussing Christian theology. Then I'll look up. My fault is past. But oh, I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder. My crown, mine own ambition, and my queen. So here's very clearly, maintaining material attachments, the 10th offense. May one be pardoned and retain the offense. A very nice statement. Help, angels, make assay, bow stubborn knees. All may be well. Okay. And so the point is, by prayer, we can become free from sinful reactions. Okay. Yeah. If we don't maintain material attachment. Otherwise, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gives the example of like trying to light a fire while pouring water on it. Lighting a fire while pouring water on it. And so probably all of us, myself is going to be worse than anybody, we're maintaining different attachments. Maybe somebody is maintaining the attachment to eating too much rice late at night. They know it's not good for them. Somebody has an attachment to garlic. Everything else they can give up. Yeah, but it's not a big offense. You'll make progress, and your progress will actually eliminate the offenses. The biggest offense is to stop chanting. You know? Even if we're chanting offensively and everything else, the best way to get free from offensive chanting is to go on chanting in this age. Of course, it'll be impossible to do it unless you're sincere about getting rid of them. Okay. The king, he stands up. He says, my words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts to heaven never go. This is so nice, right? That's the essence. Yeah. Japa without your mind involved, doesn't go to heaven. Yeah. The time of death, Prabhupada says the parrot won't say Krishna, Krishna. The parrot will say cat, cat, cat. So at the time of death, what will we say? If we're thinking about this, thinking about that, thinking about this. Words without thoughts to heaven never go. Okay. Bhagavad Gita 3:6. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose minds dwell upon sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So we're getting a good dialogue with our Christian friends now. We're never going to be looking at problems in the world from a separatist point of view. And finally, number 3, finishing off here. And this is we had the discussion of philosophical principles. We've had discussion of practical technique in terms of chanting, kirtan. They chant, we chant. Prabhupada chanted after a long discussion with the Jesuits, Cistercians. It was Cistercians, something like that. He had a very, very good discussion, with them, and then they all chanted together. And the devotees that were there, Charvadas said that they could see the Christians were just, chanting. They were chanting Christos, Christos, and when devotees were chanting Hare Krishna, and they were experiencing ecstatic feelings in Prabhupada's association and their own purity. Nice people, very nice people. Prabhupada appreciated with them. He joked with them. It's another whole other discussion, but Prabhupada's interaction with these very sincere Catholic monks. So then coming to the next point is actually coming to the conclusion. Can we talk about the conclusions of these things, these higher divine experiences, the nectar of devotion? So from our side, of course, we're basing everything upon Rupa Goswami, who lived from 1489 to 1564. From 1482, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. So Rupa Goswami was 7 years old when the United States was discovered. 7 years old. Yeah. Was a devotional teacher, poet, and philosopher, and Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. He is considered the most senior of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, associated with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a hidden avatar incarnation of Krishna in Kali Yuga. This is not from the Britannica. I took this from the old Wikipedia there. But again, so they can see, okay, what you're presenting to me is something which is accepted by many people. And of course, it says right there that his most prominent work was Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of the nectar of divine love. And from that we can discuss very, very rationally, and with many, many nice stories. The nectar of devotion, we can complete science of our position and our realization of the final conclusion of the ecstasy of the saints. And there are many resources on the Christian side, but one very nice that I've been able to come across is Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, San Bernardino of Clear Valley. And of course, San Bernardino is very near to San Diego. He lived from 1090, leaving his body on 20 August, 1153. And it says, was a Burgundian abbot, I think it means French, and a major leader in the revitalization of Benedictine monasticism, although through the nascent order of Cistercians. So he has started, I think, his Cistercian order, which was within the Benedictine tradition. And these traditions are very clear. They have their charters, they have their establishment. And one of his most famous things is a sermon on the Song of Songs in the Bible. This is very much discernible as Madhurya Ras, But he gives, very, very nice description of how to achieve it, the different levels that we can experience. And it's very, very, very comparable then to Rupa Goswami's works. So I think we have very, very good resources from both sides, to very good, strong dialogue where we can join together and be against, greed, lust, anger, for principles. Okay. So finally, we're asking everybody, to please join us, join the search, trying to find Sita. Sita is the devotional Shakti in everybody's heart. And the Upadeshamrita is the ring, and Sita Sikamani is her full set order for the BBT books. So that's the end of our little presentation here. So please forgive all of our offenses. And if there are any kind of questions or comments at this point, we can maybe clarify them like that. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I was thinking that in other religion, like in a Muslim religion, they don't want to worship the deity. So how do you explain that?
Okay, this is a very good question because the deity worship is very intense. Everything's in Upadeshamrita. So text number 7 and 8 both say Shatnama Krishna Charitadi Tanama Rupa Charitadi Shatnama Krishna Charitadi. Okay, so first by chanting the name properly, by proper respect for chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then if we're doing that sincerely with the mind, with intelligence, with a nice attitude of service, then what will happen? Automatically we'll want to experience the form. We'll want to see a picture of Krishna. We'll want to see Jesus, some temple. It's Nama Rupa. And then character. Once we're experiencing Radha Giridhari on the altar, then we're chanting their names, kirtan, we're seeing them, then we're appreciating their qualities. They're very beautiful. Krishna looks a little disturbed, but Radharani looks very happy. Okay, so Radharani is playing jokes on our poor Krishna. Rama, Rupa, or Guna sometimes is described as Guna as well as Chari. So the Kanista Adhikari will not appreciate the deity worship, and will be restricted from it because they'll simply pervert it. So we would say that in Islam, because the Prophet Muhammad, his name be blessed, probably glorifying him, was doing very good work, but he was dealing with people where he had to tell them, don't have sex with your mother. Okay, don't murder your newborn girl babies. Even in India, they drown the new girl babies in milk. Sometimes this is, of course, very low class, violent, abominable people. So I would say that is our position, that Islam was presented by the Prophet to people in a very unfortunate circumstance, in the desert where there's no water, so many things, struggle for life. But to preach in that environment is the greatest. So I would say that Islam is an excellent religion, excellent Krishna consciousness platform for many people in the world. And if you follow it, it takes you to beautiful, beautiful, subtle realizations, which devotees in Iskcon, we appreciate. There's interfaith dialogue, such beautiful, realizations of God and his intimate aspects. So in Jaiva Dharma, there's a very, very nice dialogue where some mullahs, they come on their horses to Babaji Maharaj's Kunja, Paramahamsa Babaji in Navadvip, and he has his little deity of Krishna, whatever, there, and he's worshiping. So then the mullahs, they say, hey, Allah is not pleased when you make a form of him and then worship it. And then the Babaji says, well, but for you, the name of God, Allah, is venerable and worshipable, isn't it? And they say, yes, it is. Certainly. Nobody can do anything bad or say anything bad or about the name of God. Okay. And so then Babaji Maharaj says, well, that's also a form. It's a form made of sound. Or else you can have forms made of for the eyes that you can see, or forms that you can feel. But all of these are material forms like that. So if God by his will, and what's all we're saying is that we understand, and maybe we're wrong, so we'll discuss this, that God for us has said that his name is sacred, like you, but also he gives us form. Just as he gives you the Kabbalah, or he gives you Mecca, or things like that, by which you can then have tangible relationship with him. So the mullahs are stunned in the story, and they get on their horses and go back to look at their scripture before they come back the next day. I actually used this in Chicago one time when one Christian lady was bringing their students to the temple, and the older Christian priest was with her. So she brought up this question. It was her first time there about the deity worship. And I gave exactly the same presentation. She looked just as bewildered and like, my goodness, this is not a lightweight thing. And the older Christian priest who come many years before was looking at her and kind of like smiling like, and I told you these people are not, a pushover. These people have a lot of depth in their consciousness. So that's our response. One response is that the holy name is the form of the deity. And when you're ready, then it's very natural. And within Muslim tradition, it will be there. There's other forms. I can go on more detail with there. Within the Muslim tradition, there are other discussions of the form of Allah.
Thank you, Maharaj. That
Okay.
answers my questions.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
You were talking about the 10 offenses, and you're mentioning how, in the list of the 10 offenses, one of the offenses is to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. So, someone may wonder that, okay, well, it's kind of, how does that work? Because it seems that if we were to, really understand so many instructions on this matter, it would seem that, okay, well, why aren't we giving up the material attachments, or why is it so difficult to give up? Maybe you could comment on that.
Who's talking here?
Oh, sorry, I'm actually speaking from the altar. This is Balaram Das.
Oh, hello, Balaram Das.
Hare Krishna.
You were there with God Almighty in heaven.
Yeah.
Please, if you can touch Giridhar's feet for me, and please tell him to protect me from rainfall and thunderbolts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say that the way it's describing it there is simply jnana and vijnana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody who's innocent. They just don't know any better. They see the devotees cooking for a home program and people bringing all kinds of nice things, and they're living in the house. They're vegetarian. They want to bring something also. I know this is a true story. So what the boy brought was a very, very nice ice cold big bottle of Budweiser beer to offer to Krishna. And the devotees are appreciating, and they said, "Oh, because Budweiser is the king of beers." Okay, so they told him, "Well, yeah, but Krishna doesn't drink beer, no alcohol." And he took it, he accepted it, and he said, "Well, okay, I can see that. Maybe I should also not be drinking beer too." What do you do for Okay, well, we have nice other food, taste of food. So that's somebody who's like Ajamil. They're ignorant, they're sinful, but they're not offensive, like Daksha. Daksha had heard so many instructions. He was a well-educated guy, So they're sinful but not offensive. The next level is somebody who's heard them and maintaining the attachments. And in spite of, again, like Dhritarashtra, maybe. Dhritarashtra told Akura, I know I should treat my nephews equally with my sons, but your instructions just won't take place in my heart. I'm just too attached. Well, was it an overwhelming attachment? In the Peter Brook Mahabharata, I love that. You've got to adjust it. It's on the YouTube. It's incredible. Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Garuda went and saw the drama for 3 days, Peter Brook by Mahabharata. And they portrayed the characters with great intensity, emotional intensity. So just before the battle is about to start, Krishna comes in the drama to try and preach, and it's very intense, They want to capture him. He shows his universal form. Dhritarashtra sees it. Then the vision goes away, and he's alone with Krishna. And he tells Krishna, he says, Krishna, I tried my best to avoid this war. And then Krishna says to him, so did I. So you see it. It's offensive. It's not sinful. You're being offensive. You've heard the instructions. You know what's going on. And even in Duryodhana, he knows everything, but he says, even if Krishna is God, everything else, Ravana, same thing. I'd rather die, at his hands than give up Sita or give up my kingdom. So how's that? For Jnana and Vijnana, you know, but you are not liking. Did Giridhari's garland fall down when I said it?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Nikhil Desai.
Hello, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Talking about deity worshipping, Kaaba stone is nothing but the version of a deity, isn't it?
Again, the voice is cutting out a little bit.
Kaaba stone at Makkah, Medina is a form of deity worshipping, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is the form can take so many forms. If Krishna's temple, this is Tadiya, is the paraphernalia of the deity. So we have the deity of Radha Krishna, and then we have his flute. We have his shoes. Then we have the altar. Then we have the temple. And so all these things, yes, they're Tadiya. So it may not be technically be deity worship, but it may be more in Padasevanam. But yes, it is a kind of worship of the form of Krishna, his house, and things like that. It's okay?
Okay.
Yeah. You can go on talking.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for beautiful preaching. And I have a question. If someone is taking, like they eating meat, they cook at home as well. And for me, like I'm talking about myself, if I'm going there at your place, because it's like a family relationship or a very nice relationship as a friendship, and they know my rules and regulations, they cook for me like without garlic, onion in the separate parts and vegetarian food. Can I still offer to the deities or not?
Very good question. One purport we're remembering, Prabhupada says, for preaching purposes, if the cooks are completely clean, parentheses, strict vegetarian, close parentheses, then it can be offered to the deities. If we're not going there just to enjoy a good meal, but we're going because of Sankirtan purposes to preach, and this can also mean being sociable in the sense of people, trying to promote people's sense of family feelings and sentiments for others. Okay, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta said that they accept this, or Grihastas especially. But he makes the standard that it's not only that the cooking has to be vegetarian, maybe even what's your standard? Are you going to eat things that were cooked in the same pot after which hamburgers were fried in it? Or, okay, we're cooking the chapatis in the same grill where we just finished cooking the hamburgers, variety. So as a sannyasi, which of course is supposed to be the strict Brahmin, then I require this. I remember one time I was in Punjab with my disciple Raktak Das in Fazilka. And then there's so many of his sisters and cousins and aunts, and so many people wanted to cook for sannyasi, everything else. And I told him, this is my standard. I offer everything to the Shringadev. And not only the cooking have to be vegetarian, no onion, no garlic, but also the cooks have to be vegetarian. So he started talking with his sisters and his cousins, and they were talking about all the different offerings and the people. You could see it was very enlightening for them. You know, one of them was saying like, "Oh, they're vegetarian." And then her sister would kind of whisper in her ear, and she would say, "Oh," and they would take that preparation off the plate. And the result was that nobody was offended because I'm a sannyasi. Okay, Indian culture, nobody was offended. And they also, he said afterwards, they actually were very impressed, you know, that was the standard. So Swamiji followed it. And he said one of his sisters then became very strict then, you know, about not eating chicken and everything else and so on. So that's another example. My friend, my disciple, Yashodanandana, he's from Peru, not Peru, from Peru, but he lives in Miami. He has a water filter business. That's how he makes his money. He's a Vaishya, Nanda Maharaj. And that's different than being a Brahmana, being a Vaishya. So it's for medium-sized places. Like he would do the water filter for Radhagiri Dari's temple. You know, it's not small, it's not big. He'd go around working on them, traveling a lot, selling them. It was a good business, you know, for a small businessman. But when he was on the road like that, he couldn't cook. So he told me he would go into Wendy's, you know, like McDonald's. And they had a vegetarian alternative, vegetarian thing. So, okay, I would say in his case, being a Vaishya, being on the road, taking the vegetarian preparation and then offering it to Lord Chaitanya and making nice donations, you know, to the temple, to the Brahmins, you know, giving them to buy new curtains for Miami Temple. They're falling apart. Jamashtami is coming. How much do you need for new curtains? It's expensive, Prabhu. It's going to be about $1,000. Here it is. Okay. Yeah. So it's different for different people in different circumstances. You know, strictly Preaching Prabhupada says no meat, no onion, no garlics, this and that. The more detailed, like we're talking about, no meat, no fish, no eggs, then no onion, no garlics, and then nothing cooked by people who have by materialists. It goes on that extent. One interesting story with him, he got his Wendy's vegetarian thing, whatever it was. And when the girl gave him to it over the counter, it had some kind of like bacon bits or something sprinkled on it. She said, "Hey, this is supposed to be strict vegetarian, you know, stuff's on it." And the girl said, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'll take it back. I'll get it cleaned up." You know? She said, "We respect everybody here, vegetarians, homosexuals." Okay, so about 5 years ago. So anyway, I talk to your community, but that's what I can give in the perspective. No meat, no fish, no eggs. Then after that, no onion, no garlic. Then after that, the cook should be strict vegetarian. And after that, the cook should not even be a materialist, including something. And then you can follow Raghunath Das's Goswami as a standard issue. You won't even accept buttermilk, you know, made in was it Chitra? Radharani's competitor village. So that's pretty strict. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the nice class. Jai Srila Prabhupada. I have one question related to this. When you said, Maharaj, that we have to respect our friends, family, or extended family who eat meat and all, but whatever they do, but we have to respect in order to, when you said Christians and other religious purpose, even though it's similar, but they eat meat and everything. So in that case, when we mingle with society and we respect them and we don't make enemies or we don't try to judge, in that case, would you talk something about so we can
Yeah, these are very practical, big points. Eating is a big deal. You know, so if you're eating with people and sharing and that kind of stuff, very prominent. And you know, the dialogues we've never had any problems about this. We did a very, very nice interfaith dialogue in Argentina. There was one Jew, one Muslim, one Sufi, which is a sect of Muslim, they're more mystic, and two Christians, one Christian priest, and very good. And then maybe about 100 people in the audience, and we discussed different topics. And when the Sufi guy, he was a young man, maybe about 28, 30, he was there with his friends. when he was a Latin American guy who had taken off looking for God. He met a Sufi in Islam, Middle East, and said, "I want to be like you." So if he'd come in contact with Iskcon devotees, he would have been like a GBC secretary or something. He was such a nice person, you know. So anyway, he started describing their position, and every single thing he said, I agreed with. You know, he said it's like you're trying to go up a mountain. So somebody on one side, they have what do you call it? One of these cable car things. You get on the cable car and it takes you so far, very quickly. Somebody else has a walking path, and somebody else has an automobile path. And you're so far apart. Somebody is eating meat; it's approved by your scriptures. Somebody else, and differences like that. Different marriage standard, different saints, different things. But said as you go up, you start to see that the differences start to become smaller. And so until finally, when you come very, very high, then you realize, that yes, and the guy, this Interfaith Dialog, the Muslim people, they were coming up with saying yes, that is approved in the Quran and things like that. But he says Muhammad even indicates that it's better if you don't eat meat. But what else is there to eat? And Prabhupada even said that. What else is there to eat in the desert? So fish, all right. But the Prophet Muhammad says, but all right, if you're going to kill the animal, sharpen the knife. Okay. And that's right away from modern slaughterhouses. That's cruel. The killing is not, necessarily so generous. It's a very low level of religion, but okay, if nothing else, at least they do that. Don't be cruel. Don't be a Magrari and watch the animals suffer and die. It's in our tradition too. Give them the story of Magrari. So the main thing is, if we're going to help people to preach, if they're willing to take instructions from the scriptures, from the acharyas, then we should favor them. We should do the austerity, and we should remain clean. For example, in our dharma, in our position like that, and different people have different dharma. As a lady, as a wife, somebody asks you, why are you vegetarian? Well, my husband's vegetarian. I've seen that. That is finishes the argument with many people. My daddy, and my husband are both vegetarians. Oh, all right. Okay. So, Sri Dharma, Sannyas Dharma. Again, there are rules. For example, sharpen the knife. If you're going to cut an animal, whisper in his ear, I'm killing you, but you can kill me. Prabhupada talks about this for very low-class people. We don't go into it too much because in the age of Kali, it's very difficult. And it can be applied in detailed circumstances. The devotees can come up for Dharma for people who won't become devotees right away, like that. And we can describe positions for them. We can do it based upon scripture and our consensus, our intelligence. So, any specific questions? But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, when everybody was on Parikrama in Vrindavan, they weren't giving charity to the beggars, and he said, no, if you don't give charity to people who need it according to your means, your heart will become hard, and you won't be able to understand Krishna consciousness. Krishna's made all these arrangements of civilized life and stuff. So if people respect you. I'll give you one more example. Very nice. Again, this is the same person, Yashodananda. Whenever he would go to his aunt's house in Miami, there are many people there from Peru, she would say, oh yeah, you're a vegetarian. They'd have all kinds of cooked food there, turkey, chicken, pig, dog, hog, gopher, worms, whatever they were eating. And cooks very well. Okay. So she would go, oh yeah, here. So she would give him a can of like Hunt's, vegetarian green beans and show him where the pot was. And, he would boil them on the thing and have some, beans. Okay. Okay, what's going on? Then his daughter got a scholarship to go to Europe for like 2 months or something with other school children in Germany, And so she came back after that tour, and he invited everybody to come to the house and see all the pictures she'd had, the experiences, And with another devotee, this was the first time anybody come to his house to eat. And he was a chef, not just a cook, a chef. So he had lasagna, pizza. He made like, 15 preparations, all these really like opulent, nice, tasty things that people in Latin America would love, and had it all set out on a big round table, Then he heard from his relatives that everybody said, okay, we'll all go to Julio's and we'll eat something there, like it'll be vegetarian, so don't embarrass him, eat something, whatever green beans he has. But afterwards, we'll all meet at this restaurant, like, and we'll have like our roast beef and whatever, everything there. Kind of, family here was happening. So anyway, they had a nice presentation from his daughter. Then everybody saw this and they were just amazed. And they were eating to the point where he knew nobody was going to go to the restaurant afterwards, And then he said his aunt came to him and she said, Julio, I feel like a beast. I feel like an animal. He said, this is so embarrassing for me. So why didn't you tell me how you eat? And you come to my house, I'm offering you these green beans and you're eating like this, and it's so wonderful. Oh, I feel like, an animal. Please forgive me. So anyway, it worked. And after that, everybody respected him. So according to your circumstances, no meat, no fish, no eggs, and then after that, different degrees. And unless we cultivate these nice feelings with people, we're missing an opportunity to help them advance. And if we're chanting, we can see when it's just like, okay, that's enough. I went to that program. I'm not going to go to those, or okay, who's going to listen? Who's going to not listen? Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we should stop here. It's 10 o'clock, 10:06 where I am. Yeah. I'm in Nashville, Music City. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Wait,
So-
we have Dayanidhi here also. He wants to say something here.
I know the guy.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
How are you?
I'm not, now I'm okay. I have good association, so I'm ready to die.
Okay. Nice to see you.
I can see your nose for a moment there. I thought it was something else. Okay. So anyway, want to thank you for everybody wants to thank you for all your years of service to Radha Giridhari and keeping all the accounts properly, and also Mataji's work, I guess, in the gift store still, no? Everybody's there?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're still here.
Okay. So
I'm gonna go back. I had to put the deities to rest.
okay. Otherwise, Krishna will stay up too late.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Maybe he'll sneak out at night.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your association, and we hope we can be more service to you in the future. And also, you saw our webpage is jayarama.us. It's easy to remember. Hanuman didn't think about what he was going to take with him before he jumped. He just said Jayarama and jumped. So that's our webpage, jayarama.us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.